There's a lot I want to talk about in this video, but first of all I want to talk about a problem with a lot of the videos that I make, and something that I've actually come to realise, not just because a couple of people have commented, but I realise that I often talk in a very sort of pragmatic way. This is why you should quit gambling, or probably more specifically, these are the reasons why you want to be in recovery. Now, I stand by the fact that getting into recovery, if you are a gambling addict, is the best thing you can do to improve your life and put yourself on the path to happiness, if we want to talk about it in some sort of arbitrary way, but certainly sort of fulfillment or greater success in whatever way you measure that. But I realise that applying a veneer of common sense and logic to an addiction is fundamentally flawed. Nobody gambles using a common sense and logic brain. If you look on the RTP of a fruit machine or a FOBT, or you click on the help page of an online casino or whatever, you will see that there is an RTP that is lower than 100%. Therefore, there is no common sense, rational reason for gambling. We gamble because we are pursuing pleasure. We gamble because we are addicted. We gamble to satisfy a craving for dopamine. In the same way that there's no point in telling an alcoholic why they shouldn't drink, or why sobriety is probably the best route for them. That you can say, well, don't drink because it's harmful and it's expensive and it makes you do silly things, and they know that. They're waking up feeling like shit every morning, realising they haven't got any money, lost all their friends, the wife's run off with the kids. So there's no point telling someone who is suffering from addiction the reason why they shouldn't be doing the thing they're doing, because more than anyone on the planet, they know the reason. So why do I continue to bang on about sort of common sense and explain things in a common sense or rational way? I've said multiple times that in order to get into and sustain a recovery, we need to want to quit gambling. Needing to quit is one thing, and we need to quit long before, or usually in most instances long before, we make any real attempts at recovery. We need to want to quit, because otherwise we feel like we are depriving ourselves. We say we're giving something up, we're giving up gambling. And if that's the way you look at it, if you know you have to stop and you're giving up gambling, then you'll always feel deprived of that activity, that behaviour. So you will inevitably, or not inevitably, but more often than not, you will be unable to sustain the recovery, because there will always be that bit of you that thinks there's something missing in your life. So by looking at things rationally, we can quite often maybe take a step back and look at maybe what else we'd want from life that the gambling is depriving us of. And that is the true value in recovery, which is why I'll continue, and including the topic of today's video, talk about the reasons why getting into a recovery may actually be, the best thing you ever do, and why gambling may actually be lying to you. Firstly, as always, I just want to say hi, hope you're keeping safe, hope you're keeping sane. Thanks for everyone who continues to support the channel. As always, there will be a Patreon link in the description below. I've been interacting with you guys over there on the DMs and sending people some random videos and stuff. Appreciate anyone who's signed up over there. It's very much appreciated and really helps support me and making more videos and reaching more people. So thank you very much. So in true Only Phil fashion, what I'm going to do in this video is take some great advice from some brilliant thinkers and very, very, very intelligent people, butcher it, ramble a bit, link it to gambling, and then sort of come to some sort of conclusion, which actually I do think is going to be quite a useful one, so please do bear with me. Also, in true Only Phil fashion, I'm going to start with an analogy, and I'm going to rehash the genie analogy. Now, I was used to the genie analogy in a video before and said, look, if you get given 3 wishes, what do you wish for? I think from memory I said some huge amount of money, Margot Robbie circa Wolf of Wall Street era, and probably either a Range Rover or a Lamborghini or something preposterous like that. Okay, that was probably my 3 wishes. But if you told people or asked people one simple question, what do you want from life? Most people would say something like happiness, which seems like an incredibly logical thing to ask for. But as the genie in today's scenario only deals in tangible assets and only gives you 1 wish, what most people would probably wish for would be a obscene amount of money, 100 million quid, $1 billion, 17 trillion French francs, or whatever denomination it is, right? You'd ask for some exceptional amount of money, and then what you'd do is you go about trying to convert the money you've just wished for into what you really want, which is happiness. Now, bear with me, I'm going somewhere with this, okay? As human beings, we are inherently fucking awful at converting money into happiness. You can observe this if you ever go to Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo has to be one of the most, albeit lavish and quite impressive places on earth. it does seem to be quite full of people who are just not happy. And the reason for that is because, as I spoke about at length in a previous video, and I'm not going to try and go over too much old ground, we often collate pleasure with happiness, and the two are keenly disassociated as common sense and addiction. So you go about trying to convert your newly acquired millions into some form of happiness. And that's where we start buying the big houses in the country and the fancy cars. Because what we don't realise is that what we're buying is only one sort of step on the path towards what we truly desire. This is the reason why when people buy big houses, they have swimming pools and tennis courts and bars at home and cinemas and gyms. It's not because they necessarily want those assets. It's because they have intrinsic ideas linked to those things. Like, if you've got a pool, you can have a pool party, barbecue, have all your mates over in the summer, Have a cinema, have your friends over for, I don't know, porn night. That's a terrible idea. Don't do that. Don't do that. You build a pub in your own house, which, as much as I really quite fancy the idea of that, it sounds like a stupid idea because all your mates are just going to go to the pub. They're not going to come to your house. Why would they? Just go to the pub. But at least get the beers in that way if you've got your millions. Anyway, it doesn't matter, right? So what we actually want is not the thing that we think that we want. So what we don't really need is the money. If we take the money out, we just need to find ways of building bigger social circles, interacting with more people, socialising more, taking up new hobbies like the gym, like the swimming, like the tennis courts. You don't need those things to do them. What you want is the activity, and the image in your head is never you alone playing a pinball machine in your games room, is it? It will be all your mates around, having a beer, playing some games and all of that. That's what you want. You don't want the stuff. Anyway, I've rambled too far. Let's crack on. So, when we try and apply common sense to gambling, this is where this whole logic falls down. You ask someone who doesn't gamble, someone who's not an addict, why do people gamble? Well, they want to try and win some money. They want to turn a small amount of money into a much larger amount of money. And yeah, that seems like a fairly rational layman's definition of gambling, doesn't it? But if you're an addict, we've spoken many times before about the inability to spend money on normal things. Things that we can't rationalise, things that aren't common sense purchases, £200 pairs of trainers, stupid bloody 400 quid Gucci t-shirts, right? We don't buy these things because we can't rationalise them. There's no common sense to it. And the reason we don't buy these things sometimes is because we don't know what we want. If you have 100 quid in your pocket, okay, what do you want to do with it? What do you want to spend it on? What will make you happy? We don't know. Like I said, we're inherently, as humans, we're bloody terrible at it. Now, this isn't a money won't buy you happiness speech. Money will solve a lot of problems and stop you from being unhappy. But in that moment, if you've got 100 quid in your bank account, why is gambling that to turn it into £1,000 any kind of rational, logical thing to do? Because you don't know what you want if you get the grand. In the same way that when we wish for something, we get a genie wish, or the same reason that people play the lottery, they play the lottery to win the big sum of money, the huge novelty check. But what now? Wishing for money is just wishing for options further down the road. It's wishing for something you might want in the future. Unless you decide what you want, just getting more money is futile. So gambling becomes futile then in two respects. Not only the odds stacked against you, so you shouldn't do it from a common sense perspective, but if you do win the jackpot, how much do you need and what are you going to spend it on? And I will underline all of this by saying that I have very, very little money. Okay, trust me, carrying a gambling addiction with you for the best part of 20 years doesn't lead to, financial fruitfulness. Okay, so I'm not standing here saying, oh, you don't want money, it's a waste of time. Right? I'd love to have financial security, and I think most people would. But if in the here and now we've got any money at all and we don't know what we want to do with it, what's the point in winning more? Because all we're doing is perpetuating an addiction, and we're searching for happiness and contentment when we never find it. How much do we need to win? I'm not talking about elation. I'm not talking about, a hit of adrenaline when you get a jackpot or whatever. Yeah, maybe you could win 10 grand. Amazing. Yeah, maybe you'd buy a new car, right? But where does that new car take you that my 21-year-old BMW is not going to? Is that going to make you happy? So why are we pursuing something which is a step on a ladder to complete arbitrary success? Anyway, I hope that makes sense. I've probably really butchered that. I think that the point really is that, we have to know what we actually want in life before we can pursue it. That's that's the underlying theme. And I would say, if that's true, then what's the point in gambling? Because we've got an amount of money that we can gamble, but we don't know what to do with it anyway. We can't think of anything better to do with it than gamble it. So what's the point in getting more? Even if you're not an addict, if you get more as an addict, then you're just going to lose it anyway, so it's all academic. But if you're not an addict, then what's the point in getting more money unless you know what you're going to use it for that's going to actually intrinsically improve your life? Massively butchered that. I hope you can see through the waffling and the rambling and the sort of weird analogies to what the point I'm trying to make. What I might do is find the video that actually prompted me to make this, and then you can go and watch someone far smarter than me give their advice in a much more sort of logical way. But until next time, stay safe, stay sane. Patreon link in the description as always. Thank you to everyone who supports me in any way. If that's not your bag, you don't want to support me that way, that's cool. Just like, subscribe, and do all that cool YouTube-y stuff. And I'll be back with, hopefully, a more straightforward video soon. Bye for now.